Damn it, botanist.
What is it, Cotton?
Well, with all of the information that we've gotten, we still know so little about Iceborne.
Well, I think the answer is simple, Cotton.
Well, what is it then?
It's in the trees.
You always say that, botanist.
No, really, it's in the trees. The weapon trees.
Oh?
Seriously, go have a look.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as the days go by, it appears we can't even go 12 hours without either an official announcement or a leak about Monster Hunter World Iceborne bringing us new and exciting news. Today, however, is slightly odd, as this new video is not at all in English, and seeing as I don't know any language other than English myself, please keep in mind that all translations were done by someone else, so take that as you will. The information covered here, however, is vast, and while some of it might not seem crazy at first glance, we actually know a good chunk more about Iceborne now than we did yesterday, and because of that, this video will be a little bit split up. So without further ado, let's get right into the star of the show. Layered armor will exist for all armor sets. That's right, everyone. The main request of a large portion of the community is finally coming into fruition, and every armor set in the game will be getting a layered version, and even better than that, you will be able to attach layered armor on an individual slot level to each of your equipment sets and save them. Now stop!
Hammer time!
The only potential negative outcome of this is that we have no idea how we will actually acquire all of these layered armor sets. In Base World, all of the layered armor came from deliveries and quest completions, and I feel like including the amount of quests required to have layered for every single armor set come from one quest each would both be an insane amount of work for the devs and for us as the hunters to try and collect them all. So maybe there will be some sort of system where you can trade in a ticket for one of your choice, or maybe it even has something to do with the treasure system that was leaked in some recent achievements. But the truth here is that we simply do not know. All we know is that these layered armors are coming, and that I will wear whatever the hell I goddamn choose when Iceborne rolls around. On top of the more abstract things like layered armor in the weapon tree I'll be talking about a little bit later on, we also got some balancing information, so look out, cluster bomb heavy bowgun!
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
But actually, cluster bomb is untouched for now. You got lucky this time. Everyone's favorite, obviously overpowered skill weakness exploit, however, has just been brought down a peg, as full ranks of the weakness exploit skill will now only provide 30% bonus affinity when hitting weak spots, down from 50%. That is, until the part is tenderized from a clutch claw attack, which actually explains why this attack was referred to as tenderizing the entire time the devs were talking about it, as once a part is tenderized, weakness exploit gets to enjoy its good old 50% bonus we all know and love. So I better see people latch to monster heads if they want to kill them. But people who should avoid latching to monster heads are anyone who uses maximum might. Well, obviously, Cotton, I would lose my affinity for a short moment. No, Timmy, you would lose your affinity for a while. A while? Yes, because maximum might as a skill has been totally reworked, and now only activates if you have had full stamina for a prolonged period of time. How long that period is, we don't quite know yet, but even if it is a couple of seconds, this is going to be a big hit to users of maximum might. This now means that dodging, of all things, will be extremely inefficient for the damage of anyone using this skill in Iceborne.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. What?
Element attack up, meaning the specific element up skills have been given an extra rank at the end for 20% bonus element attack, which is essentially just straight up double the effectiveness of the previous max rank. So who knows, maybe we won't see a massive number of Diablo's weapons in Iceborne. Critical Eye has also gotten a bonus level for a final bonus of 40% affinity if you have all the levels of the skill, which is pretty good, needless to say. Temporal Mantle has been nerf buffed? What? Well, it has some good and some bad. Oh, like me. No, you're just bad, Timmy. The Temporal Mantle may have been nerfed on the surface, but it could even out to be pretty decent in practice. Dodging an attack using Temporal now takes off a chunk of the gauge, meaning that the mantle will only last for a few attacks if you are actively being hit with it on. But the time it can stay on has been increased from 90 seconds to 120 seconds, and the cooldown has been reduced from 300 seconds to 210. So assuming you're using it in combat and using it to purposefully passively dodge attacks, you'll have the Temporal Mantle on for shorter periods of time, but more frequently overall than before due to the short cooldown. I like this change. Temporal was broken strong. This keeps it still a very strong option while bringing it a bit more in line with the other choices. Finally, for balance then, which I'll admit is sort of stuffed in here because it didn't really fit in anywhere else. Oh, like me. No, know, Timmy, I wouldn't stuff you anywhere. Aww. Is that some charms will now reach level 4 and some even level 5, which should in theory give us a massive skill increase compared to the regular game charms. And then on top of this, there will also now be 4-slot decorations, though unfortunately the best translation I could get on what this jewel actually is injury resistance, so take that as you will, I suppose. Moving on to something a little bit more whimsical and significantly less confirmable, we got significant insight into the Longsword weapon tree, and while that doesn't necessarily give us anything concrete as all the parts have a ton of question marks next to them, we do get to see what kind of materials are required for each weapon, the color of these materials, and the elements associated with the weapon itself. So it's time for a good old-fashioned game of Guess Who?
Is it me? Is it you? Who knows? Guess who?
Starting with what is just about a shoo-in, honestly, right at the top of the tree, there is a poison longsword with 2 purple parts, a white part, and what looks to be a bird wyvern gem. I know it should be a G-rank gem, which means that it wouldn't be a bird wyvern gem, but I can't find a single G-rank gem the shape and color of this, and it does look exactly like this bird wyvern gem. Given these, it is an extremely reasonable idea to shout Yian Garuga really loudly. Ow, my ears! Shut up, Timmy! Being that Yian Garuga is a purple monster with a white mane and is a bird wyvern who is poisonous, I would say it is pretty reasonable to guess this, though definitely unconfirmed. Moving on down then, there is a thunder weapon with a bunch of white parts and, well, a bug. A bug! Mostly because of the bug in the thunder, a lot of people are associating this weapon with Zinogre, which, don't get me wrong, is probably in the top unconfirmed monsters I'd like to see in the game, but the only white part of Zinogre is his fur, not his claws, or his fangs, or his mantle, and the biggest glaring issue of all is that Zinogre's Fulgur bugs have always had a yellow symbol, leading me to believe that this is a completely different bug, and it's a completely different weapon for a completely different monster. That said, a bug is always an interesting thing to include in a weapon, so I'm really interested to see what this weapon actually turns out to be from. We also have some relatively indistinguishable new weapons, but if not from fully new monsters, there is a chance that one of these could be for a Basilgeuse variant, a Paralysis Elder Dragon, and an Uragon subspecies or variant, but the evidence is much less substantial for those. In fact, the only other ones here, which I, in my spoiler-free mind space, am willing to take a solid guess on, is that the 2 weapons here that the Rathalos and Rathian trees end in are almost definitely Gold Rathian and Silver Rathalos. There's a massive rarity jump on both of those trees, and on top of that, they would be some of the easiest monsters to implement if they are like the old game ones. Though if we did see them, I would really hope that they got the Lunastra treatment and really deserve their titles as unique monsters, and more than that, as rare species. There are so few rare species in Monster Hunter because they're rare, get it? And these guys are barely better than subspecies in the old games. So come on, Capcom, and make metal great again!
Oh, I love metal.
All in all, the layered armor changes are fantastic news. The balancing is at least interesting all the way through, if not immediately meta-shattering, and the potential monsters to come out of the weapon tree we got a glance at would be very welcome in the game. I mean, honestly, after seeing how Burial fights in the new world, I don't think there is a single returning monster I would be genuinely unhappy to see, as Capcom have just nailed every Iceborne monster so far. Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been your news for the day. Do you have any guesses what monsters these new weapons could belong to? How do you feel about the balancing? Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or report important news about the Kingdom Animalia. Rage, Content, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear, so if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons, even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros, there's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.